Your spirit guide has your life and you before you came here mapped out. So remember when we had paper maps, you could lay out the map and here's the highway you've planned to go down to that point. And there are certain milestones, mile markers on the way. But every highway has exits. So we do make those choices that get us off the path, but you will ultimately come back. That's your path. And people say, well, I don't know what my path is. I don't know what it is. What's your passion? What do you find yourself coming back to over and over in your life?
I'd like to welcome back to the show returning champion, Suzanne Giesemann. How you doing, Suzanne?
Doing great, Alex. What a thrill to be here in person with you finally.
Yes. Thank you so much for coming to Next Level Soul Studios. You know, you're one of the first early ones to come down here, and I appreciate you making the trek down to Austin to be with me in person. It's very different. I've done a few of these now. It's very different than doing the Zooms. You got good energy in the Zooms, but in person, it's a whole other... You feel it differently.
Well, you feel the same to me in the way that you're exactly the same person that you appear to be.
Yes.
I know that's not what you meant, but I just want everybody to know this is not a fake persona you put on.
Appreciate that very much. No, of course. No, I mean more like the energy in the room, the conversation, how, especially with channels. I've had channels in now and how the room changes, the energy vibe changes a little bit when I have somebody like that and just you being here, the energy is different. I feel it a little bit more.
Well, I come with my team.
Yes, the team is here with you. We were just talking about that. You said your team is right around us right now, all watching us.
Yeah. I don't even know who some of them are, but they just show
up.
They got my back.
They got your back. Fantastic. So we're here to talk about a bunch of stuff today, but your new book, The Awakened Way, Making the Shift to a Divine Guided Life. This is such a beautiful book.
It is.
It is a beautiful book.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna help a lot of people.
It already is. It's mind-blowing to me that people who say they start crying within the first few pages because they can feel the energy.
Yeah.
Yeah, the feedback's been phenomenal.
That's great. Well, we'll talk about the Awakened Way. I think that we're going to be talking about the Awakened Way anyway because of the questions and stuff I have for you. So, first thing I wanted to talk to you about is this battle that it seems like a spiritual battle that's going on for humanity right now. This negative energy and the people who are rising and awakening and people who are fighting to stay where they were. This spiritual tug of war that's going on. What is your take on what's going on in that sense? Because I've never seen it before. I'm sure it's always probably been going on, but it's not good or bad. It's just two different vibrations, two different frequencies. One's going up, one's like, no, I want to stay where everything was. I'm comfortable here. This is scary kind of thing. I'd love to hear your take on it.
Words are so important, and right away you're using that word battle.
That's why I changed it.
Right away we get defensive, and then you also said negative energy, and I was just shown recently, if we looked at a battery, it has a positive end and the negative end.
Correct.
And that's not a bad thing. That's what allows the flow.
Right.
So I have stopped using the term negative energy, and I'll say there's positive energy and not positive energy.
Fair enough.
We're just mincing words, but yet every word carries energy. Mm-hmm. So what's going on in society is you have those who are not yet remembering or aware, awakened to who we are, and those who can't help but remember, oh my God, I'm here to love. Mm-hmm. I'm here to return with better energy than I came here with. Mm-hmm. And so what you're feeling is pushback from the ones who aren't there yet, because the ones who realize it's okay, and we want to help bring them along, but we don't do it by fighting.
Right. So are there any tools that you can recommend for people who are trying to deal with the non-positive energy?
This is the subtitle of my book that you just mentioned, Making the Shift to a Divinely Guided Life. The shift is the key. Mm-hmm. And the shift is from identifying with the story. That's a word we could really focus on through this whole interview, is we are in our roles in the story of me and the story of you, and our stories are interacting now, but we are so much more than the story. So the tool is to just shift beyond the story. And I can't even do the shift without even making a motion of my head, because I go to a different focus. And you come to know who you are beyond the story in moments when you shut out the story, and meditation, contemplation, periods of presence. And when you know what that feels like, you can shift to it instantly, and you get a whole different viewpoint. And from that viewpoint, you see the fighting, you see the clashing with a different perspective. You have more patience, you have more understanding, you have compassion, and that brings you to a different place when you shift back into the story.
Now, that's a very interesting way of looking at it, because I come from Hollywood. So I come from storytelling and writing and that kind of storytelling. But the story that we tell ourselves is extremely powerful. And the stories that not only individuals tell themselves, but communities tell themselves, countries tell themselves, religions tell themselves. These are the stories that people are fighting about right now.
And everybody has a story. Right?
Everyone's got a story.
Well, we have to have a story. So now it's a matter of who's in charge of the story. What level of you is going to be living your life, from within the story or beyond it? And then you start looking at those different roles that we play and saying, is it time for a new chapter?
Is there a way to kind of break free from these stories that are not serving us anymore? Because these stories that we're fighting, that are, not use the word fight. I'm now trying to not use these words anymore. You're ruining me.
I know.
These stories that are.
Ooh.
Yes, go ahead.
Well, I just heard you have to break it down, the ruining part, before you can build it back up. So that's your answer right there.
So in other words, these systems, these stories that we're telling each other, from the level of the individual all the way to governments, all the way to institutions, all the way to countries, and even just giant swaths of society, have to be broken down, torn down for the new to be reborn, or to be born.
That's what we're experiencing now. But I'm reading a book from the Vietnam War era, and that was what was happening then. There's got to be some kind of breaking down so something new can come in. Exactly what you just said. And it's usually painful, because most people fight change. They don't want to change.
That's really interesting. I never thought about that, but it's been going on forever. So from all the wars, from back in, let's just go start at year zero. The Romans, the Alexander the Great, the Mongols, all of those, there were these systems that were in place. Rome had to fall for the new to arise. And the Roman Church was, assuming, the offspring of the Roman Empire. But that needed to rise for that time period. And that had a place for a long time. That did, and it still does good, but there's a lot of things that it needed to do. But then these systems now that we don't need anymore, whatever those systems are, it could be economic, it could be government, it could all this stuff. They're starting to shake, and they're starting to crumble. We're seeing it. We've been seeing it for years now. But looking at it from a point of view of, like, let's say the Vietnam War, for example, or at 9/11, for example, you were flying over the Twin Towers. You were the last plane in the air, if I remember correctly. Yep. So you had a unique perspective, very unique perspective on 9/11. You were in it as close as you could be, other than.
And then stepping over jet engine pieces on the grounds outside the Pentagon hours later.
Right, yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
So that event, that changed the world. That event absolutely changed the world. Mm-hmm. And there were systems that were broken down over that system.
But let's not forget that we came here as souls.
Yes. For
the experience and to create and evolve.
Mm-hmm.
So we didn't come here for things to stay the same.
Right.
This is the problem, though, that we're programmed for safety, and safety to most people means let's keep the status quo. So it's this paradox that we're all living in. I mean, we love pleasure. We don't want pain. We want the pleasure to stay. And so we're just constantly being pulled. But when you can understand that's the dynamic, and you just relax, you might say what I've been saying to myself for the last week. I don't know where, really, for the last week. We just got on the road for several weeks, and we're packing up the house. And I walked around saying to myself, I have no control. I have no control. Just reminding myself of that. And then I just flowed. It's amazing what happens when we surrender this need to stop things from changing.
That's such a beautiful way of looking at it, because everything is on its way somewhere to somewhere. Everything. This table, that shirt you're wearing, we are. We're not going to be here. If you look at pictures of ourselves when we were younger, we definitely did not hold on as much as we might have wanted to. But things are always changing. And I think a lot of our pains in life is because we're trying to hold on to things they're going to change. Yeah. They're going to change. When we have a loss in a family, a pet dies, a relative dies, that's change. It was going to happen. We all knew it. We were all going to this direction, but you still mourn that change.
It happens moment by moment. My husband makes the best chicken enchiladas in the world, and I'll be halfway through that meal, and I'm already grieving that it's almost over. And that's just a silly example. But we know that nothing's going to last, and even in the midst of pleasure or even in new love, you want to hold on to it. But in the back of our mind is always this fear of death, fear of change, fear of loss. So this is the challenge to, how do I deal with that? Well, you deal with that by making the shift and saying, this is what we signed up for. This is life. It is all about change. When you can accept that, then you notice what to look for. You look for the gratitude. You look for the good spots. You honor the not good spots.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're funny, because my mom, when she comes to visit, the second she lands, she's like, "Oh, I'm leaving in a week."
See? That's
I'm like, "What's wrong with you? Just got here." She's already like crying, like, "I'm not gonna be here in a week." I'm like, enjoy the moments you have.
That's it.
It's listen, life would be boring if we won the lottery every week.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say we won the lottery every week, and every week we knew we had $20 million coming in. At a certain point, look, sounds great, but at a certain point, how much money do you need? And you're like, oh God, there's nothing. It's so boring. It's so predictable.
Do you know about the happiness set point?
Tell me, please.
That you could win the lottery and be thrilled, be so happy. Yet within 1 year, you would be back to the level of happiness you had.
Correct.
Before you won the lottery. You could have somebody near and dear to you die and go into the depths of depression. And about a year later, you would come back to the same set point. And they've shown that meditation is one of the only ways to raise your happiness set point.
That's very interesting.
Permanently.
That's very interesting, because when I started to meditate, my set point moved.
Yeah.
And I never thought of it that way.
Goosebumps. Yeah.
You and your team are amazing, Suzanne. No, it's very, very true that that when I started meditating, I was either angry or, frustrated or this. And as I meditated, that stuff kind of started to fall away. And as I started to raise my frequency, if you will, it started to change.
Yeah.
And I'm no guru by any stretch of imagination. I am not perfect, as you aren't either. We're still going through a human experience.
Yep.
But there's things that didn't bother me before. And my happiness level is really not relevant to my financial. I mean, look, we all need money. We all need to make sure that everything's up there. But it is not connected to that as much as it was when I was younger.
That's it.
Money's great. And it does good work, and we can do good things with it. But it doesn't make or break me anymore. And that's a really powerful place, because when you're chasing the dollar or chasing love or chasing the job or chasing whatever, when you're chasing it, it's not the same when love just shows up, or, money shows up, or an opportunity shows up. I don't know about you, but normally all that stuff shows up when I stop looking for it. When I stop chasing it is when it shows up. Yeah. My wife was a perfect example. I wasn't even looking for love. And the second I said, I'm done. There you are. Now you're ready. Now you're ready. Same thing for finances. Same thing for opportunities. It's very interesting. But meditation is such a powerful way to set that set point up.
Because you experience who you are beyond the story. And that's the part that doesn't change. It's the only thing that's not changing. This state without a story, with nothing coming after the words I am, it's pure peace, pure connection to everything. That's love. So your happiness point automatically rises because you're spending time not identifying with the story, what's changing. You're getting to know, oh, if I won the lottery, if my loved one dies, either way, this is still here.
Have you played around with quantum jumping? Are you aware of that?
Just a little bit. I tried to go back and change what happened in a previous life to see how it would change things here.
Oh, you were playing?
Yeah, just playing.
Okay.
Just playing, but no tangible results yet.
How about the idea of the parallel realities? So that must be.
Yeah, my guides, as you say that, they're just wrapping a blindfold around my eyes right now. It's just like, it's too hard to wrap your heads around these things, but time is much more malleable than we know.
Correct. Well, there is no
There's
time.
no time beyond the story. Right.
This is the story. So in other words, the 90 minutes that you're watching the movie, that's the time frame inside that movie.
Yeah.
And you need that time frame inside that movie to make the movie work. Because if the movie didn't have time, you couldn't watch it. But technically, as if, okay, now I'm getting stuff. This is weird. But technically, as a filmmaker, when you're constructing a movie, the movie is not made in order. It's made in parts, out of order. And you put everything together in the edit to create the illusion of a story. But it wasn't built that way. So very similarly to us, we're like, there is no time, which is hard for us to wrap our heads around because we need time and space here, where on the other side, there is no time or space, to my understanding.
Yeah, and this story is all unfolding perfectly for us for the purpose we're here, to create and evolve. So it's part of the construct of this reality. Across the veil, just my guide Brenda, who was a friend here, she shows me she visits 3 friends at once or more. And it's instantaneous. She drops in on them in time, but she's outside of time.
Interesting. And see, for me, it's like, oh, that's exhausting. Like you're talking 3 conversations at once. How can you crowd? But our little processors here, our little computers, are not built to even begin to understand that. The only time you're able to understand these ideas at a higher level is when you leave this computer and plug into the internet of spirit, essentially.
Well, we experience it in our dreams. There's no time in your dream.
Right.
Things happen instantaneously. You're suddenly in a different country. There's no sense of time passing.
And it's you're absolutely right. It could a dream could seem long, but not really.
Yeah.
And can seem short.
Oh, yeah.
And not really. You've been sleeping for an hour and that thing could have taken an hour to go. And same thing in your meditations.
Oh, yeah.
When you go deep in meditations, it's almost like a controlled dreamscape state sometimes. I want to talk to you about that because meditation, and I haven't talked a lot about my meditations and what I see and what I go through in my meditations. I've been meditating now 7 years, about 7 years, hour and a half a day is what I try to do.
Good for you that you haven't lost that with all this busyness.
It's getting a little harder recently with the launch of the streaming service and other things like that. But I'm like, okay, just get it over the finish line. Okay, now I can go back. But I have been, like today I was able to do it, even though there was no reason I had time to do it, but I made time to do it. But what I noticed, because were you you weren't a meditator in the military or anything like that?
Oh, never.
Nothing like that,
No.
right?
Mm-mm.
That's woo-woo.
And it wasn't popular then.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't as popular as it was now. It's one of the most researched things ever.
And it was then,
No.
it would have been, you do that for stress relief. And
Correct.
there's so much more.
Right. It's like you do yoga just to get a cool body.
Right.
It's a similar idea.
Yeah.
So, but I'd love to hear what happened with you when you started to meditate. I think a lot of people, when they meditate, again, put these requirements on a session. They're like, I can't do it. It's not working. My mind's not quieting. I'm not a perfect monk now. That was a waste of a session. And that's when you stop. You can't get past that block. It took me years. Before I started my practice, I've been trying to meditate for a decade. I just was doing that to myself. I would sit down and be like, obviously it's obviously not working because I keep hearing my voice. And then the big secret is that the voice doesn't go away. it will go away at a certain point, but it's okay.
Yeah. It's what is observing that voice. And you get to know there is something beyond the normal day-to-day thoughts that just come up robotically. And so if I'm able to step beyond that voice and watch it, even if I can't stop it, who's doing the watching? And
that's the question, isn't it?
Yeah. But what I have really been teaching in my classes lately that seems to be helping people is, for me, I had a totally different intention when I went into meditation. I was going to connect with my stepdaughter who had passed.
Right.
It wasn't just about peace or let me meet my spirit guide. I needed to connect with her. And I realized that it was that soul focus, and I haven't figured out which form of soul I'm talking about there. It was both, S-O-U-L and S-O-L-E. That soul focus that took me deeper and farther faster, because I watched my thoughts, listened to the voices that were coming through. Well, that's not Susan. And I just let them go. I didn't try to quiet them. It was just like, get out of here. That's not Susan. And I would just go back to watching and listening. Right. Anything that wasn't Susan, until something really interesting might pop up that wasn't my stuff.
So stop right there for a second. That's a really interesting part about that, because a lot of times you're like, oh, my brain just made that up. Well, there's sometimes when things pop up, I'm like, I didn't think that.
Yeah. So that's when you then, okay, so Susan, I still want to hear from you, but I'm going to pull this thread.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's when I think that's the first breakthrough, is when you are aware enough to see that something has popped into your mind that is not your thought.
That's it. That is the whole key. And so I didn't hear from Susan for 3 years, deliberately on her part.
Sure.
So that I would start noticing other voices and get to know, oh my God, we really do have spirit guides. And then I started listening to them. But I would every day go back to, but Susan, where are you? Mm-hmm. And then I started learning about angels, but Susan. and then connecting with other people's loved ones and going more and more in depth with that. If she had come in right away, well, great. Let's just chit chat. Now I'm done. Would I have still be meditating today? I don't know.
Wow. Yeah. If you would have stopped because of, the chit chat or this or that, it's that moment that you like, and I still do it to this day. Like I'll be there and something will pop. I'm like, oh, that's not mine. Oh, let's go down this road.
That's it.
This is not mine. And let's go down this road. And that's the breakthrough. And then when you can get there every time, then you're starting to get into some magic. Yeah. And then when you can do it at whim, then you're now really mastering that stuff, because you're able to pull yourself above the story, above where you're at, and you can start looking down at things. And then things start to open up to you. I've seen so many different visions, elements. I've seen future events. I want to hear if you've had this happen. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
This is a key point, though, and it just surprises me how people miss it, so I didn't want to miss
it.
Go ahead. I talk in the book about the 3 E's. Educate yourself, and this is what we're doing in programs like this and with the book. But what we've just talked about is experience for yourself. Oh, something stood out. Oh, that's a being. Mm-hmm. Oh. But the part a lot of people miss is the 3rd E, engage what shows up.
Correct.
It's not just, that was interesting. Well, okay, who put that in my mind? You ask the question, who is this? Mm-hmm. And now you start a conversation, and before you know it, you're no longer questioning, am I making this up? Because you're learning something. It's helpful. Or you're excited because I can go look that up. Did I make that up? I didn't know that. I never heard that before. And now you're saying, oh my God, there really is something beyond this.
So I want to ask you this, because this has happened a handful of times in my meditations. I found these events that would happen, and it's happened a few times, and it's more than just a vision. It's more than just a scene. You're in it.
Yeah.
And you feel it. It's a different thing. So there's different levels.
Yep.
There's different levels. I've had the holy crap, what the hell's going on level. That's happened once or twice. Of like I've been wiped away. I've been taken somewhere almost. Mm-hmm. Then there's I'm watching a TV show moment. Mm-hmm. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Oh, okay, that's what's going on. Oh, I wonder what that means. So there's that moment. then there's another moment where it's in between those two, where you're kind of watching a show, but you're also feeling everything. And this is the very important part of it. There's a knowing. And that's the difference, the knowing. So no one is speaking, but you understand what's happening. You understand who that is. Someone is telling you telepathically, that's the only way I can think about it. Oh, those people in that scene is this person, this person, this one. Even though you can't see their face, but you feel their energy. It's the weirdest thing. You're like, oh, that's grandma. Oh, and that's my daughter. Oh, and that's that. And then you feel who you are in the scene. In the one specific scene I'm talking about, I was there and a bunch of my family members were there. And I felt what I was feeling. And I knew exactly what was happening without anyone explaining it to me. It was just a knowing.
Yeah.
A knowing. And that specific scene was something in the future.
Oh.
Which
wow.
I will never reveal.
Yeah.
But it was very personal. But that it was just it was so amazing. I'm like, that's what it must feel like in a near-death experience to a certain extent. I can only imagine.
Well, you talked about having that experience where it's so real and you're totally in it. Imagine an aspect of you right now that just suddenly says, oh, I was sitting in this studio doing this interview and it was so real. That's you having this experience now, right? That's the nested dolls aspect of all of this.
And when you're able to tap into those kind of things, it's pretty remarkable. Sometimes the scenes that I see in my meditations are messages. They're always generally messages of something going on. Very rarely do I hear audio, but occasionally I do. I don't know about you. Occasionally you'll hear someone say something or you'll hear a statement. It doesn't happen very often. It's normally just more mental. You understand things instantly. But it is pretty mind-blowing to see. And that's why I understand when I've studied Yogananda very deeply and he would just go off for 2 or 3 days. And he would just tell his followers, if you need me, just whisper in my ear and I'll be back in an instant. But he would just go and meditate for 24 hours or 48 hours and just be gone. Because he was literally just elsewhere.
I know.
Elsewhere. What's your experience? Have you had similar things happen to you in your meditations?
I rarely meditate longer than half an hour.
Okay.
It's a luxury to have more than that.
Yeah.
If I go 45 minutes, I'll fall asleep.
Okay.
Yeah. But I don't need to go further or I would stay there. I get the messages. The longest ones are when I get caught up in these, I call them conversations with joy. I'm talking to the highest source I can imagine, like Conversations with God with Neil Donald Walsh. But I have a notepad or my iPad and we just have a conversation and I just get so drawn into it. I'll ask my question by typing it. The answer will come and we just go on and on and on and 45 minutes will have passed. And I've kept all of these hundreds and hundreds of pages and the wisdom, the humor, the teaching is divine. It's a joy to sit like that. I haven't shared those publicly because they're helpful in my life. And that's when you know it's real because this guidance is not just right here for the taking. It's when we expand our consciousness, there it is.
So you're always connected. So for you, you don't have to meditate as much,
right?
Because you're getting visions all the time. You're talking to spirit. You're talking to your guide. You're talking to relatives of other people. You're constantly connected. So I could see that you don't need to sit down for 3 hours and meditate because you're essentially in almost a level of, you have that open channel all the time.
Consciously connected, and it is definitely possible.
It is definitely possible. For people who are interested in trying to level up, quote unquote, level up their skill set to be able to do this for them, to get their frequency up to a place that they can open up to that. Because to my understanding that there is a guardrail in place for us as a species where we cannot access higher knowledge unless you are higher vibration, generally speaking. And you have to continuously go. That's how we've been able to grow so fast technologically over the last 100 years, because we have raised our vibration as a collective. Yeah. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, it is.
So as we are going up higher and higher, so what can we do to raise or shift to a divine frequency a little higher to be able to connect to the gifts like that you have, or to have a clear connection to source?
Be committed to a regular practice. That's daily. My sip of the divine, 3 minutes a day. Who can't do that? 3 minutes a day. And you ask in those 3 minutes, or hopefully longer, what do I need to know? What's holding me back? You have to be willing to change yourself. And so because you're sitting in the peace and this loving vibration every day, when you do something not so positive, it just jumps out at you. And, oh, God. You just immediately say, ooh, that was very human of me. Now, could I have done that better? And then you start to change. It's a natural progression. And it's beautiful because it has its rewards all along the way.
You mentioned something last time we spoke, and every time you speak, you're like, I don't like to say I don't like somebody. I don't
resonate with
That's the word, resonate. I don't
Yeah.
resonate with that person.
Yeah.
Is that just a vibrational thing?
Oh, absolutely.
Like two magnets?
Think of the disco ball analogy that I use so often. One light shining out through 8 billion lenses. That's all of us humans. Now, if my viewpoint is looking out that way and somebody over here is looking out that way, how are we going to have the same energy? We have a completely different viewpoint on the world. But I might be, aligned with the person who has a similar viewpoint here. But even when you think about octaves and harmonics, you might have a viewpoint with somebody who's 180 degrees opposite you. It's absolutely frequency, and you can feel it immediately when you're sensitive. When you meet someone, you just say, "Oh, not in resonance." So that's okay. Now it's not, "Ooh, I'm putting up barriers." That is just a fact of we have a different story.
And we're not connecting on that story, on that wavelength, if you will. Well, then let me ask you this, because from my understanding is when you raise yourself to a certain frequency, you attract those frequencies to you.
Oh, yeah.
That goes for the top and that goes for the bottom of the
Yes.
spectrum.
Yeah.
So if you were like, life sucks, oh my God, the world is horrible, well, guess what? That's all going to those kind of people are going to show up in your life.
I'll do readings for people, and the guides will say, tell them they will have love in their life again, but don't look for it right now, because they're going to attract to themselves the same kind of person they just divorced. But then they give them guidance about, look at this, do that, change this, and then just start being open, and somebody will come to you, and it'll be the last person you would have thought of being with, and it'll be perfect.
So if that's the case, that if our frequency goes up, we attract those kind of people. And I'll be honest with you, as I've been doing the show, and people like yourself have come into my orbit, you would have never come into my orbit, or people like you would have never come in my orbit. It's not because
you're hanging out with gangsters.
I was hanging out with gangsters, obviously, and Hollywood folk. No, I'm joking. But I've had these amazing interactions with people, very spiritual people, very enlightened people throughout the show. And these people are being attracted to what I'm doing, like yourself, energetically.
Because your heart's in the right place. You can tell.
I appreciate that. Yeah. I appreciate that. It's an energetic thing. It's not, I'm going to go get clicks, or, I'm going to go get that. It's not about that. Because there's a lot of other shows, and even when I've wanted somebody, I'm like, nope, they're not. I wasn't ready for that guest or something along those lines because of whatever reason. So if that's the case, then can you explain to me why someone would show up in your life who is so starkly off your frequency? How did they show up? Obviously, if you speak in front of large crowds, things like that, I get that, and you do.
This is easy because we tend to see things only from our viewpoint. What if you shift and say they needed the lessons they're going to learn from you? And you just have to, and you're just like, I'm here to serve. Yeah, that's what they can learn from you for a while. Interesting. So those kind of people will fly into your life. You will recognize it. And hopefully from their perspective, they're going to learn a lesson of like, why did that person not want to talk to me, or something along those lines, or maybe something deeper than that. But that's a great. I say I never thought of it that way. I always thought I was only looking at it from my point of view. But you're right, because I always joke like, you don't see a lot of yogis getting mugged.
It's not a thing. Their vibration, their frequency is such a level that they wouldn't attract that kind of lower energy, or heavier energy, if you want to say, not negative, lower energy to them, generally speaking.
Not negative.
Not negative. Yeah, you just got that. So they wouldn't be attracting that kind of energy. So I've always been very interested in that, and it's been an experiment in my life that I've been noticing the people that I have been attracting in my life. Yeah. I've been so starkly different than it was 5 years ago.
But the reason you lost me there for a second, where I was late picking up on the non-negatives, is because my mind went to, well, what if I get mugged? That's where my mind went. And then there's immediately fear with that, and then you'd attract it. So it's just this constant being aware of what your thoughts are and then what you're radiating to the world. What do you want to attract into your life? You really need to look at yourself.
If you're enjoying this conversation, I invite you to go deeper down the rabbit hole with me on Next Level Soul TV. It's packed with exclusive content like live special guest Q&As, daily podcasts, commercial-free access to the entire Next Level Soul catalog, early access to episodes before they air, and special meditations you won't find anywhere else. We will be adding new exclusive content every month, plus you can connect with me during my monthly live streams. Just go to nextlevelsoul.com/subscribe and join our soulful community today. I'll see you on the inside. Suzanne, okay, look. Look.
Where are you going?
All right, look. It's wonderful what we're talking about here. Like, you radiate what you want in life and it comes. On paper, that is awesome. It sounds
Not
awesome.
On paper.
No. Hold on. I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
I'm making a point here for people listening.
Okay.
I agree with you. But on paper, that seems really easy to do. But in practice, you just did it. You just like, if I get mugged, oh my God. You just went there instantly.
Yeah. That's the old part of the brain. We're hardwired that way.
Exactly. We're hardwired. So, and that's another thing I want people to understand. We are hardwired for safety.
Yes.
We have a negative bias built into our systems to protect us from the tiger around the corner.
Mm-hmm. But you can create new neural pathways.
Correct.
So that you don't get stuck in that. You can say, but I know there's another aspect.
So, and that's a really good point I want to hold on to, is getting stuck. Because you just had that energy, that thought went through your head, and you went, no, and I'm out.
Shift.
And you just moved it out, but it went through. You just let it pass through you, where somebody would go, oh my God, I'm going to get mugged. Oh my God. Oh, then it's just like, well, if I get mugged, then I'm going to do this. Am I going to get hurt? Should I go buy a weapon? Oh, this, maybe I'll get a big dog. And you just, and all of a sudden you bring it down. I remember when I was a kid, when I was a teenager starting to drive, I was terrified of being pulled over. So much so that when the thought came into my head, I could not let it go. And even at that young age, it's so bizarre. I was thinking about this the other day. I saw someone getting pulled over, and this whole story came into my head, and I was like, I would remember, like, no one ever told me this, but I kept thinking about it, I'm like, I guess I'm gonna have to keep thinking about it until it happens. And a couple days later, I get pulled over, and then I literally got the ticket. I'm like, thank God I can get rid of that now.
Oh gosh!
And at that young age, there was something that I knew. Even then, I had no woo-woo, no books, no nothing, no meditation. But I just had a feeling about that. That's the dangerous part about thoughts, is because they have a charge. Mm-hmm. They have a emotional charge, but they have a frequency charge to them.
Now look what you just did. You said dangerous. Now we're afraid of our thoughts. No, that's the interesting part about thoughts.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay, so not dangerous. Okay. I say dangerous. Yeah. You see, I love the way you shift everything. I love it. I love the way you shift everything. The things to be aware of. Mm-hmm. If I was around you all the time, I would become much more articulate. The things to be aware of is if you have those thoughts, not to get stuck. And that's where people can fall into traps or fall into a hole. Because you could have been out of the rest of this interview thinking about getting mugged for the rest of the day.
It ain't going to happen.
Ain't not going to happen. It just flew right out of your head. Yeah. So that's the key for people thinking about what they want in life, is to project those ideas. But when there's fear involved, and look, I'm not perfect. There's things in my life that I'm like, but what happens if this? Or what happens if that? letting go of that and just trusting. And that's where it comes. It's all kind of coming together.
But we can play with manifesting.
Yes.
And literally just say, what if I say I'm putting a protective shield around me and muggers won't even see me?
Mm-hmm.
Now you're saying, well, maybe there are angels that will help me with that. I have to share with you,
Please.
one of the most magical stories I ever heard in that regard. 3 women were coming to a retreat I was doing. They got in the airport, got their rental car, got in the car, had to drive 45 minutes to the retreat center, and they said together, angels, put a protective shield around the car. Okay? They're going down the highway. A dump truck's in front of them. All 3 saw it happen, so this is not an illusion. Big rock, a hunk, flies out the back of the dump truck, gets about 3 feet in front of the car, breaks into 3 pieces, and goes down the sides of the car.
Wow.
I would say, oh, that's ridiculous. But I know it's not.
Wow.
Yeah. So when we get on the road in our bus, every day, I'm buckling in and he goes, say your angel thing. He will not pull out till I sit. And I said, okay, fine. And I don't just say this rotely. I go to my heart and I make sure it's coming from the heart, really connecting. I'll say, angels, please protect people, pets, and property today. May we get safely all the way to our destination and have fun, and may it be totally uneventful. Thank you so much. That's it. Every day. It's our ritual. Yeah.
Well, let's talk about angels, because you've spoken a lot about angels. When I first started the show, I would say, I'm not going to talk about angels. I mean, Jesus.
I did too when I first started this
I'm
work.
like, angels, for God's sake. What am I doing? What am I going to talk about? Archangel Michael and Gabriel, for God's sakes.
Yep.
So I actually stayed away from that for an early part of the show. I was learning. I was growing, and talking about different things that...
You are forgiven.
Yeah, yes, as you are as well.
Yes.
Because it was, coming from where we both came from, a more grounded space. Angels seem so fanciful. I mean, you might as well just say fairies and trolls and gnomes at that point, which there's conversations about that we could have as well.
That's a whole other conversation.
That's a whole other conversation. You could say aliens and UFOs. We could talk about all that stuff. Yeah. But angels specifically.
My guides just said, stay in your lane.
Yes. Okay. Yep. We're not going to talk about that. Someone told me to. That's not the conversation I had with Suzanne. So don't worry about it. But angels, though, it seems like, oh gosh, she talks to angels. Okay. Can you explain to people what angels, who they are, how they help us, how you can connect with them? Are they the biblical aspect of thing, or is that just a costume that we put on them? From your experience.
I'm not going to give you specifics because I have yet to see one. Mm-hmm. But go back to my metaphor of the disco ball light, and here we are, humans, 8 billion of us around the edge with one light projecting and becoming all of those. As you go back towards that one light, the light becomes more powerful. So the angels are going to be the same light projecting a different story more powerfully, so that it's projecting through more of these lenses on the outside. So it's a hierarchy. It's the same light.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
The same light and the same intelligence and creativity. So does it have form? If you want it to, it'll wear a suit. Right?
Have wings if you wanted to.
If you wanted to have a name, ask it. What shall I call you? They'll give you a name. But you can say, hey, you, I need help here. So that's the proof when you get the help.
The thing that's beautiful to what you just said is that if source, God, for lack of a better word, is the beginning stages of the light. And as it projects the light out, an angel is kind of like a Wi-Fi booster, if you will. It takes the signal and boosts it out in a different way through a different lens, based on its own being, if you will, because angels are their own sovereign beings as well, like we are.
Yes, everything is both and sovereign and part of the one.
It's so difficult for us to understand that.
Yeah.
But idea.
Once we do and we start playing with it and shape shifting in that way, you see the connection. And then you can use that awareness that I really do have help. I'm really not alone. Oh my God, it's life changing.
So how do you connect with your angels?
I don't even
Guardian angel.
see them. I don't feel them as separate, but I call on them.
Okay.
I ask for assistance. I ask for guidance. I send them thank you when things happen, but I don't know who actually did it. But I just know that asking from a higher level works.
And can you give me an example of when an angel did something for you?
Oh my gosh, angel example. I may have already shared this with you.
Mm-hmm. But go ahead.
Did I share my Eureka story?
Okay. We've had 4 of these conversations over the last 3 years. So
just some beautiful teaching in meditation that I got. And I remembered having a guest on my podcast, Lorna Byrne, who sees
just
angels.
had her on the show. Oh, she's beautiful.
Beautiful
What
soul.
a beautiful soul. Beautiful, beautiful soul. Oh, love her.
And she cracked me up because she said there are legions of unemployed
Yes,
angels.
the unemployed angel concept.
I thought that was so brilliant. And I thought, my gosh, if we really did have all these helpers and we're not calling on them, I'm going to start calling on them. So I started calling on them, and it's been very helpful. But I said, all right, I'm the one that always talks about doing the sign game. So if there really are these unemployed angels, what sign are you going to send me to validate that? Mm-hmm. And I heard and saw Eureka. The word just flashed up in my head like that. And I thought, oops, that's a good one, because to be a good sign, it has to be unusual, not likely you'd see it in the next couple of days, but not so unusual that it's impossible.
Right.
So 2 days later, we got a FedEx delivery and a big crate of a sculpture that we had bought on our travels. And the sculptor, when we took the lid off the box, had put a magazine that had a feature article about him in it. He marked it with one of his brochures. I open up the magazine. The title of the article in 4-inch high letters is Eureka. That was it. Now, that's great enough. Alex, this is how it works. The higher level knew that was on its way to me. They could see that moment when I'm going to open it up. And don't you just see them like, oh.
So that's okay. So that was when you said that was going to be my question. Okay. So did they create that, or did they just see what was going to happen and go, oh yeah, she's going to see the word Eureka in about 2 days. This is going to be perfect.
It's one mind. Who created it? We did it together. I wanted a magical moment. They may have put it in my mind, or I did it.
But they're seeing a higher picture of all
without
of us.
a doubt. Yeah.
So if they're seeing the higher picture of us. Yes.
Well, they just said, and now you get to share it with millions. So you see, one little moment, that's the web. It goes out and it goes out. Now we're going to have all kinds of people around the world saying, all right, unemployed angels, don't ask for $1 million. Just help me with the proverbial parking space. That's trivial. But
Right.
where will you grow from having help with something?
I tell this story, and I'm asking these questions because there's so many times in our lives that we go off on an off-ramp, and we can get stuck on that off-ramp for a decade.
But you don't have to be afraid of that, because with the meditation, you get to know you have a team. You get in this flow of testing. And like I said, when you catch yourself doing something very human and you go, oops, that's not who I really am, the same system is in play in every step of the way. You have a new idea for a new project, and you test it first. How's this sound? How does this feel? Okay, if I take the next step, every step of the way you're testing. And then you just don't hit those walls. And the first sign of hitting a wall, you back up, go into meditation and say, what's the better way? What's going on here?
So you're testing the waters.
Every step. Yep.
That's a really good way of looking at things in life, because if you're like, oh, I have this idea, and we get all hyped up about our ideas. Oh, I'm sure you have.
I used to. And now I recognize that manic feel.
Mm-hmm.
And I stopped when my book launched. Oh my gosh, my team, they were so excited. And I was happy, but I realized I didn't have that manic feel that I've had with past books that come out. And that's that's an improvement, because what goes way up goes just as far down. So I've learned, I totally enjoyed it, but it was mostly tempered. It was gratitude instead of the, wow, this is awesome.
And when it starts to go up too fast, it becomes an ego trap as well.
Ooh.
Big time.
Yeah.
You're the greatest, Suzanne. You're going to change. And even in the spiritual thing, you start using that spiritual ego.
Oh.
Because the ego will grab onto spiritual stuff.
I think please God, did I learn that lesson a decade ago.
Really?
Yeah, very, 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 very painfully. And it was beautiful now.
Yeah. Not when you're in it, but when you look back, it is.
Yeah.
So just to be clear, so that there was a moment in your life when you were walking the path in this space, being the spiritual person, and you got.
But I wasn't this spiritual person then. I was just, I was connecting with other people's loved ones, but I didn't.
You weren't here.
I could never have written that book.
No, of course not.
But they helped, my God.
Yeah. Exactly. But so I say this because I think it's such a learning lesson for people listening. Even someone like, because a lot of people will put you up on a pedestal.
Oh, they might think I've always been this way. I know.
That's the lesson I always tell people. Like, no ascended master ever showed up fully formed. Not Jesus, not Buddha, no one. They all come to learn lessons, to evolve to the place where they become the ascended master or the walking master, the living master. But no one comes fully formed. It doesn't work that way. So I'm pointing that out because people might put you on a pedestal as well. If they read this book, like, oh, she must have been like this all her life. Like, we all go through these things. We all make these mistakes. So there was a trap that you fell into at the beginning of this journey.
Yeah.
And it's so, and I'm going to use the word dangerous. I'm going to throw that out there. It's dangerous because when you walk in the spiritual path, and I'm sure you've met many people in this field, when you're talking spirituality, you're talking about the other side, you're talking about evolution of the soul, you're talking about all these things. The ego, who was not on board originally, all of a sudden goes, we are. I think we're a little bit better than everybody else. I think we know much more than these people who are here to listen to me. And you start to fall into that little trap. That's so, and it's dangerous.
It'll really come back to bite you. And
right.
That's what we don't want.
So that's kind of like what you kind of, in a different way, obviously, but you fell into that trap and you said it was a painful experience because that was a lesson I needed to learn along this path.
Yeah.
Because these are traps. They're little ego traps that you can fall into.
Yeah.
You get a lot of success very, very fast. It's dangerous. Hollywood, I saw it too many times.
I bet you did.
Oh my God. Yeah. Everyone's telling you you're the best. Oh, you're wonderful. And then you have a bomb and they don't pick up the phone.
Yeah.
It's insane.
That's the identifying with the story. And this is, I know this is what's made the difference, is that it is just a role. It's just a story. And if you take it too seriously, you're going to hurt. You're going to get hurt.
Now, one thing, you're a medium as well. So you do speak to loved ones on the other side. One of the biggest questions I'm always asked, what are they doing? Is there a cafe? Are there movies?
If they want it to.
Yeah. So is it like What Dreams May Come?
It is. Oh, it's not in this book. It's another one I have coming out in October. This download I got about what the afterlife is like.
Please tell me.
And it's hierarchical, and it depends on where you are in your spiritual understanding when you cross the veil.
So explain to me.
So if you don't get it at all, you'll cross the veil and you'll say, oh, I'm still the Suzanne story. And
even on the other side.
Yeah, you'll understand, okay, I'm no longer in my body, but some may want to really hang around their loved ones here more. You may just really enjoy playing golf every day and getting a hole in one every day.
On the other side.
On the other side.
Really?
Yes.
Because you build whatever you want.
Instantly. And if you never visited the pyramids in Egypt, boom, you're there. And that's pretty cool. But after a while, hole-in-ones get boring. Right? And now I've been around the world and I've seen it all. And then now maybe, and my loved ones know I'm here or they're doing okay. So, but after a while, then it's like, well, what else is here? And then you start to notice this pull, this natural pull to continue evolving. And that just is to shine your light better. So you go through this progression and come back, have another go at it.
So is it like the Robin Williams film, What Dreams May Come? In that menu, and not all aspects of that story.
Yeah, the scary stuff.
Not the scary stuff, but the actual creation.
Very much so.
Building out the world, like, it was made of paint at first and all that stuff. And you're like, oh, if I want this here, I could eat that. Oh, everything's made out of cake. Okay, great. Yeah. Is it kind of like that? And I think it was Cuba Gooding Jr., his guide, when he got there, who said, oh, we have enough. Everyone can have their own world here. There's nothing but space.
Yes.
And he built an entire world for himself.
Yeah.
Where he was comfortable.
And yet it's still all about relationships. So you're drawn to other souls.
And other souls are connected. Why is that? Why are we connected to other souls like that? Is it
because we are
family group?
all of one light. That is who we are, connection itself. So we exist so that we as the light can enjoy being the light. And you can't know who you are unless you get apart from it. Yeah.
So but I'm talking about like specific souls, like soul families or soul groups. Because we're all connected as a soul. I get that part. But there are groups of souls who tend to like to hang around with each other.
Well, that's like in your body. You have groups of cells that serve one organ and groups differentiated cells. It's just a way of compartmentalizing different experiences of consciousness.
Interesting. Is the body and the physics of ourselves basically an analogy for the universe?
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
as above, so below is so true.
Because the deeper you go down to our cells, and you eventually get so deep that there's nothing but space.
Yeah.
And then you pull back out far enough, there's nothing but space.
Yeah.
And it's funny how an atom and a nucleus going around the atom, and I'm not that great in science, but you know what I'm talking about, is an example of a solar system.
Yeah. But that diagram is outdated now. Now it's just a sphere of possibilities. That atom could be anywhere.
Right. Yeah. It's popping all over the place.
But truly, the solar system, it's so fascinating when you dive in.
And you start pulling back farther and farther. Our little galaxy, then it goes into our little solar system, goes into a galaxy, then goes into multiple galaxies, and then the Milky Way is this big comparatively to farther back out.
Boggles the mind.
Boggles the mind. It really, really does. I wanted to ask you about the stuff that's going on in the world. And we talked a little bit about it at the very beginning of our conversation, these two energies happening right now. Where do you see the energy kind of update of where we're at currently right now and where we're going to be in the next year or two of what's happening in this kind of battle going on? Not battle. Excuse me. I'm sorry. No, I can't say the word battle.
You can say it.
the struggle between these two different non-positive and positive energies. You're killing me, Suzanne.
I just feel that the evolution is slow but steady. And that more and more people are coming to say, this is not right, whatever this is. And yet some things will continue to repeat themselves. I bought a book, I found it at a used bookstore, and I just opened to the preface, and it said, there are wars going on, the people are killing each other, people don't understand who we are. It was very timely. And I went, when was this book published? 1946. So we can be Pollyanna and say, consciousness is rising, but it is. It's just not as fast as most people think, but it's much faster than it was in the past.
It seems that things are moving extremely fast now. In both energy levels are moving much faster, just from my point of view. From when I was born to where we are now is astronomically different.
The fact that we can talk about these things and so many people are interested, that is the most hopeful thing for me.
Right. So even in the last 10 years, I mean, this conversation doesn't make sense 10 years ago. It doesn't get the audience that it would get now.
Get more people meditating. Get them to go beyond the story and start making that shift daily. Be guided by the higher realms. Ask those unemployed angels to be helping us and help more people. Then we'll really see the progress.
So, but things are kind of speeding up. It seems almost like every year, every month, it seems to be going on both sides, of that energy, the non-positive and the positive.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Because they're both going. The positive is really going, but also the non-positive is really going as well, because there seems to be a lot more craziness going on in the world.
It's very strong.
Yeah, but you've said it very clearly. Well, in the Vietnam time, it seemed like everything was going crazy as well, but it just seems different now.
Focus on your reality right here. That's what the guides want us to know. We can look at the news and project ourselves there, but you are here in your reality for a reason. You're having your life experience. So what choices can you make right here to make your little part of experience more loving, more connected? And that will make a difference for the whole.
And I think what you just said is so important to really reiterate is that the news, the media is very fear-based. It's about fear. And you get stuck in that world. You know, I know relatives who watch a certain news network or two, different types, on both sides. And they just go down that road and they live there and they want more of it because
it's addictive.
It's addictive, that energy, the endorphins that are being released through it and all this fear or anger. And they just were like, I just want to go. And then go on social media and everything on social media is literally the algorithm is sending them exactly what they want. So they're reinforcing it. Yeah. So the reality of the world changes, completely changes. So that is an extremely dangerous thing to do. And I love what you said is like, focus on what your reality is. Because look, there's wars going on in the world right now. There has been since the beginning of time.
Yeah.
But we're more aware of them now. You know, when Alexander was running around, we didn't see it on the evening news. You know, so it was different. Now we see it. And the problem is that we take it in and like, instead of being mugged to like, oh my God, is the bomb going to drop? Or is this person, this country going to do this or this country going to do that? Live in the reality of your own reality. And if other things happen, then you deal with them as they flow to you.
Yes.
Is that fair?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're attracting to yourself the lessons that will help your soul right here, right now. So look around you, deal with what's bubbling up in your awareness right now, and you'll find greater peace.
Is there any practices that you can recommend people to do to kind of get them out of the endless loop of fear that they might be in?
Of course, we've talked about the meditation.
Sure.
But the practice of self-inquiry, really analyzing yourself. What am I telling myself that's holding me in fear? Why did I just react that way? But notice how we don't just ask it, I'm just wondering in general. Go into the silence and trust there is a guide or a loved one of yours across the veil, an angel, and say, why am I experiencing this now? What do I need to know from this? Why do I keep beating myself up? Don't just wonder. Ask directly and be listening and watching for answers.
Beautiful.
That practice of asking the questions directly of a higher source is hugely helpful.
Well, self-analyzation is the first keys to self-realization. Essentially, right?
There's a quote.
I mean, when you self-analyze yourself, you start the beginning processes of realizing who you truly are.
But not in a judgmental way. Why do I keep doing this? No, I want to know. Where's this coming from?
The curiosity.
Yeah.
It's curiosity of self. You know, why did I do that?
Yeah.
Not beat yourself up over it. But why did I do that? I do that. I catch myself all the time. Why did I react that way?
Yep.
Why does that person get under my skin?
Yeah.
Why does this situation still ring my bell?
Well, I have a process in the Awaken Way book. I call it the no fault process. 7 steps for when something triggers you and you fly off the handle or you cry or you get angry, you call your partner a name you didn't mean to call them. that no fault is an acronym for N is notice the behavior. Oops. So now we're starting the process. O, observe. Now that requires you to shift outside the story. So now you're in the director role, not the actor. You've just shifted beyond the story and you say, oh, I was an idiot. Or, I don't want
non-judgmental. Non-judgmental.
That is an observation.
We do idiotic things. I'll give you
that. Myself included. F is now feel what you're feeling. And is it anger? Is it frustration? Feel it. Don't shove it down. A, acknowledge. Maybe I have a right to feel that way, or maybe that was a little over the top. Acknowledge the feeling. U is uncover what's beneath it. Now, here's where you may need to ask for guidance. Where'd that come from? I dug up some old stuff with something my poor husband bore the brunt of a couple months ago. And most of our wounding comes from before age 7. It's childhood stuff that when you don't acknowledge and feel it and try to uncover it, it's just going to keep triggering you. So when you say, oh my God, it's from when my mother said this to me, and ever since then, that triggers me. So then that's the U. L is love yourself anyway, like a parent would, a parent who can love unconditionally. And how do you do that? You can just say, it's okay. Literally, it's okay. Over your hand here. She screwed up, but now you know where that came from. Mm-hmm. And then T, talk to yourself lovingly. You could also be tapping. I don't know if you know, but tapping is really good for clearing out those charges. But now that you've cleared the charge out and talked to yourself lovingly, you're loving yourself, you've uncovered it, you've acknowledged it, you've felt it, it doesn't have to come up anymore. This one major trigger that I've dealt with the 30 years I know my husband, he triggered it in me every time. But that was his soul's job. But I never looked at it. And now it hasn't happened since. Because I dealt with it.
So when you understand, because there's
his behavior stopped and I didn't change him. I changed me. I understood it and I let the charge out.
Okay, that's going to help me because I have some stuff I got to deal with certain people.
Well, that's your greatest teachers are the ones who push your buttons.
All right, then I have one in my head right now.
Okay.
That is teaching me a lot of things.
And it's called no fault for a reason. You don't have to point the blame at you or them. It's just like, okay.
So when you start doing this kind of self-analyzation and start to really become curious about yourself, and you start digging and you start bringing stuff up, a lot of people stop.
Yep. Oh, yes.
Because I'm like, ooh, I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to deal with that. What can you tell them? Is there a way for you to go, okay, when that feeling happens, you can do this to kind of keep it going?
It's so simple, yet it takes a little courage, but the soul is innately courageous. So everybody has the courage at the level of the soul. Be willing to just look at it with curiosity. Look at it, and you will see it will flow right through you when you look at it. And it may teach you something on its way out. Somebody blows cigar smoke in your face. Oh, you go like this, but eventually it flows past. And well, I didn't die. That wasn't so bad. I didn't realize that people have that fear just from even 3 minutes in my Sip of the Divine practice. But I had a conversation with my friend Irene who said, well, after her daughter died, she wanted to connect with her daughter, but she would sit down and get quiet. She was scared to death that the grief would well up too much. And every time the grief came, she went like this until she finally just said, I give up. I surrender. And she sat to meditate, and here came the grief, but she'd given up, and she watched it, and it went poof. That's how she described it. And she went, oh my God, that wasn't so bad. And ever since that moment, she's been able to meditate. She now hears from her daughter. Her daughter wakes her up in the middle of the night. Mom, you didn't do this and that. And she was right, that kind of thing. If we can find the courage to look at our fears, they'll go away. They don't need to trigger us anymore. They serve their purpose. So
then on a humanity level, we're doing a lot of digging right now. And a lot of stuff is coming up. Is that what's happening? That we're dealing with our humanity's 7-year-old.
Oh yeah.
And that's why these wars are popping up. Old wars, old thousands of year old wars.
Well, it's also that humanity as a species is in adolescence spiritually. We're no longer children, and adolescents are tumultuous and rebellious.
Oh, I never thought of it.
Yeah,
that's where we are right now.
Yeah.
So we're the 13-year-old.
Yes,
we're the 14-year-old.
That's frightening, isn't it?
We're 13, 14-year-olds. Ooh.
Yeah.
Dangerous time.
But we're getting older, and so we'll just hang in there till adulthood and take care of each other, and we'll survive.
Suzanne, where can people find out where to get this amazing book,
Anywhere
The
you get
Awakened Way.
books, you know the standard.
Anywhere you can get books.
Really, yeah.
All right, and where can people find out more about you and what you're doing in the world?
SuzanneGiesemann.com. We keep it pretty well updated.
And you have a YouTube show. You've got all sorts of good stuff.
All kinds of fun stuff. Cruises. I mean,
that's right. You do have cruises as well.
I have free stuff. I have cruises. I have stuff in the middle. I have an app with the daily messages. It's a busy time, but I have to tell you, I remember walking towards my bedroom the other day with 3 deadlines and several major projects, and I was my head was going, wow. And I said to my guides, this is a lot. And they said, and you love it, don't you? And I laughed and I said, yeah, I do.
You know what? I'm going to have to agree with you on that. Yeah. As crazy as everything been, doing all the stuff with the show and the streaming service and the app and everything, my wife turns to me, she goes, you really love this, don't you? I go, yeah, I do.
But you look at the effect, and we get the feedback all the time that people are finding more love. That's why. I mean, the feedback is so beautiful.
Oh, it's pretty remarkable. Yeah. Do you or the guides have any final words for the audience?
Well, I don't know why they just said this is not the end. Okay.
Oh, we're going to keep recording?
That's the first time they've ever said that at the end of an interview. So what they're saying is, it is a story, it is ongoing, and there are chapters within stories, but many stories have series. Life truly is eternal, and you wouldn't want it to remain the same. So enjoy the ups and the downs, and no good drama comes without its not good parts. Wow. And you are always supported throughout it, so don't forget to call on us as needed. Yeah.
Such a beautiful way to end this. Suzanne, thank you so much for coming on the show, coming here.
Fun.
And it was amazing talking to you. So thank you, my friend.
You're welcome.
Thanks for watching. Click on one of the videos below to continue your journey, and don't forget to subscribe.